Good morning. Today we're beginning a new Christian classic. The name of this Christian classic is The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment. It is by Puritan Jeremiah Burroughs. This is an excellent book. I read it several years ago. I'm looking forward to rereading it with you, and I thank you for watching today. We begin with his definition or description of contentment. Christian contentment is that sweet, inward, quiet, gracious frame of spirit, which freely submits to and delights in God's wise and fatherly disposal in every condition. Christian contentment is that sweet, inward, quiet, gracious frame of spirit, which freely submits to and delights in God's wise and fatherly disposal in every condition. I shall break open this description, for it is a box of precious ointment, and very comforting and useful for troubled hearts, in troubled times and conditions. 1. Contentment is a sweet, inward heart thing. It is a work of the Spirit indoors. It is not only that we do not seek to help ourselves by outward violence, or that we forbear from discontented and murmuring expressions with perverse words and bearing against God and others, but it is the inward submission of the heart. Truly my soul waiteth upon God, Psalm 62:1. And my soul, wait thou only upon God, verse 5. So it is in your Bibles, but the words may be translated as correctly. My soul, be thou silent unto God. Hold thy peace, O my soul. Not only must the tongue hold its peace, the soul must be silent. Many may sit silently, refraining from discontented expressions, yet inwardly they are bursting with discontent. This shows a complicated disorder and a great perversity in their hearts. And notwithstanding their outward silence, God hears the peevish, fretful language of their souls. A shoe may be smooth and neat outside, while inside it pinches the flesh. Outwardly there may be great calmness and stillness, yet within amazing confusion, bitterness, disturbance, and vexation. Some people are so weak that they cannot restrain the unrest of their spirits, but in words and behavior they reveal that woeful disturbances there are within. Their spirits are like the raging sea, casting forth nothing but mire and dirt, and are troublesome not only to themselves but also to all with whom they live. Others, however, are able to restrain such disorders of the heart, as Judas did when he betrayed Christ with a kiss. But even so they boil inwardly and eat away like a canker. So David speaks of some of whose words are sweeter than honey and butter, and yet have wart in their hearts. In another place he says, while I kept silence, my bones waxed old. In the same way, these people, while there is a sense of serene calm upon their tongues, have blustering storms upon their spirits. And while they keep silence, their hearts are troubled and even worn away with anguish and vexation. They have peace and quiet outwardly, but within, war from the unruly and turbulent workings of their hearts. If the attainment of true contentment were as easy as keeping quiet outwardly, it would not need much learning. It might be had with less strength and skill than an apostle possessed, yea, less than an ordinary Christian has or may have. Therefore, there is certainly more to it than can be attained by common gifts and the ordinary power of reason, which often bridle nature. It is a business of the heart. 2. It is the quiet of the heart. All is sedate and still there. That you may understand this better, I would add that this quiet, gracious frame of spirit is not opposed to certain things. It is not opposed to a due sense of affliction. God gives his people leave to be sensible of what they suffer. Christ does not say, do not count as a cross what is a cross. He says, take up your cross daily. It is like physical health. If you take medicine and cannot hold it, but immediately vomit it up, or if you feel nothing and it does not move you, in either case the medicine does no good, but suggests that you are greatly disordered and will hardly be cured. So it is with the spirits of men under afflictions. If they cannot bear God's potions and bring them up again, or if they are insensitive to them and no more affected by them than the body is by a draught of small beer, it is a sad symptom that their souls are in a dangerous and almost incurable condition. So this inward quietness is not in opposition to a sense of afflictions, for indeed there would be no true contentment if you were not apprehensive and sensible of your afflictions when God is angry. 2. It is not opposed to making an orderly manner making in an orderly manner our moan and complaint to God and to our friends. Though a Christian ought to be quiet under God's correcting hand, he may, without any breach of Christian contentment, complain to God. As one of the ancients says, though not with a tumultuous clamor and a shrieking out in a confused passion, yet in a quiet, still, submissive way, he may unbosom his heart to God. Likewise, he may communicate his sad condition to his Christian friends, showing them how God has dealt with him, and how heavy the affliction is upon him, that they may speak a word in season to his weary soul. 3. It is not opposed to all lawful seeking for help in different circumstances, nor to endeavoring simply to be delivered out of present afflictions by the use of lawful means. No, I may lay in provision for my deliverance and use God's means, waiting on him because I do not know but that it may be his will to alter my condition. And so as far as he leads me, I may follow his providence. It is but my duty. God is thus far mercifully indulgent to our weakness, and he will not take it ill at our hands if by earnest and importunate prayer we seek him for deliverance until we know his good pleasure in the matter. Certainly seeking thus for help with such submission and holy resignation of spirit, to be delivered when God wills and as God wills and how God wills, so that our wills are melted into the will of God, this is not opposed to the quietness which God requires in a contented spirit. But what then, it will be asked, is this quietness of spirit opposed to? 1. It is opposed to murmuring and repining at the hand of God, as the discontented Israelites often did. If we cannot bear this, either in our children or servants, much less can God bear it in us. 2. It is opposed to vexing and fretting, which is a degree beyond murmuring. I remember the saying of the heathen, a wise man may grieve for, but not be vexed with, his afflictions. There's a vast difference between a kindly grieving and a disordered vexation. 3. It is opposed to tumultuousness of spirit, when the thoughts run distractingly and work in a confused manner, so that the affections are like the unruly multitude in the Acts, who did not know for what purpose they had come together. The Lord expects you to be silent under his rod, and as was said in Acts 19:36, you ought to be quiet and do nothing rashly. 4. It is opposed to an unsettled and unstable spirit, whereby the heart is distracted from the present duty that God requires in our several relationships, toward God, ourselves, and others. We should prize duty more highly than to be distracted by every trivial occasion. Indeed, a Christian values every service of God so much that though some may be in the eyes of the world and natural reason a slight and empty business, beggarly elements, or foolishness, yet since God calls for it, the authority of the command so overawes his heart that he is willing to spend himself and be spent in discharging it. It is an expression of Luther's that ordinary works, done in faith and from faith, are more precious than heaven and earth. And if this is so, and a Christian knows it, he should not be diverted by small matters, but should answer every distraction and resist every temptation, as Nehemiah did, Sanballat, Geshem, and Tobiah, when they would have hindered the building of the wall with this: I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease whilst I leave it, and come down to you? 5. It is opposed to distracting, heart-consuming cares. A gracious heart so esteems its union with Christ and the work that God sets it about that it will not willingly suffer anything to come in and choke or deaden it. A Christian who is desirous that the word should take such full possession as to divide between soul and spirit, but he would not allow the fear and noise of evil tidings to take such a hold in his soul as to make division and struggling there, like the twins in Rebekah's womb. A great man will permit common people to stand outside his doors, but will not let them come and make noise in his closet or bedroom when he deliberately retires from all worldly business. So a well-tempered spirit may inquire after things outside in the world and suffer some ordinary cares and fears to break into the suburbs of the soul, so as to touch lightly upon the thoughts, yet it will not on any account allow an intrusion into the private room, which should be wholly reserved for Jesus Christ as his inward temple. 6. It is opposed to sinking discouragements. When things do not fall out according to expectation, when the tide of second causes runs so low that we see little in outward means to support our hopes and our hearts, the heart begins to reason as did he in 2 Kings 7:2. If the Lord should open the windows of heaven, how should this be? We can never consider that God can open the eyes of the blind with clay and spittle. He can work above and beyond and even contrary to means. He often makes the fairest flowers of man's endeavors to wither, and brings improbable things to pass, in order that the glory of the undertaking may be given to himself. Indeed, if his people stand in need of miracles to bring about their deliverance, miracles fall as easily from God's hands as to give his people daily bread. God's blessing many times is a secret from his servants that they do not know from which it is coming, as ye shall not see wind, nor shall you see rain, yet the valley shall be filled with water. 2 Kings 3:17. God would have us to depend on him, though we do not see how the thing may be brought about. Otherwise, we do not show a quiet spirit. Though an affliction is on you, do not let your heart sink under it. So far as your heart sinks and you are discouraged under affliction, so much you need to learn this lesson of contentment. We'll conclude there for today. I have a couple of other items here in answer to this question of what is quietness of spirit opposed to? What should we not be characterized by if we are content? And of course, the key verse for all of this, as you probably know, is Paul's letter to the Philippians, where he says in Philippians 4:11, I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. So that's going to be the focus of this book, the focus of our time together each day. And I hope you'll join us and that you will enjoy listening to this great work from the past. Thanks for watching today.